So Darrell Moon, leading Aspirational Healthcare, which is a movement across the country. It's also a company that I have that's about healthcare being focused on the customer. Typical healthcare is, this body that we have is an amazing, complex organism, the most complex in the universe. So people go to school to learn how it works and they specialize in an area. And when a part of our body breaks or isn't working right, then we go to healthcare and they diagnose our problem and they give us a treatment plan. And if we don't follow the treatment plan, they call us non-compliant. And that's kind of how healthcare works. That's the typical healthcare system. Well, aspirational healthcare is a model of healthcare that's been designed and recognized internationally and nationally as the premier healthcare model in the world. And the reason it's so different is it's like, okay, we didn't come to life to manage a body. We came to life to reach aspirations, to have career goals and to have family goals and personal goals and dreams. And what if healthcare was a partner on our journey, supporting us in reaching our aspirations? So instead of falling off a cliff and then getting fixed and getting back on the journey, what if healthcare was our partner on our journey to actually reach our dreams and never fell off the cliff in the first place, or supported us so we don't? But it's about not directing us to better manage our body. It's about healthcare being compliant with us to better reach our dreams. That's the difference between typical healthcare, which is sick-based, and aspirational healthcare, which is let's support people in reaching life's dreams. This model of aspirational healthcare was created by an organization in Alaska that manages the health for 70,000 Alaska Native people. It's called NUCA, or NUKA. And they've been the ones who have pioneered this amazing model that's been internationally and nationally recognized. When I discovered them 3 years ago, I said, look, countries from all over the world come to Alaska to learn about this amazing model, but nobody's heard about you in the lower 48, and nobody from the lower 48 ever comes to your conference. So I created a company called Aspirational Healthcare to show and teach and consult with companies how to build an aspirational model for their employees. It literally gets the highest level of satisfaction, highest level of health improvement, costs half as much as the current healthcare system. It's like we support employers who want to offer something better to their employees at a significantly reduced rate. So Aspirational Healthcare, my company, we consult with companies in helping them build that. And it's very simple. There's three major ways to save tremendous amounts of money in healthcare and that are a part of the aspirational model. One is the front door to healthcare. So typically we have an insurance plan. It comes with a bunch of providers and a network. If we have a problem, we will look up the provider's name. Well, having run hospitals in the past, in fact, 10 different hospitals, I know how healthcare works. Well, as a hospital administrator, I bought practices, not because they made me money, but because they were the main funnel source to fill up my beds. So when you open up the insurance booklet and you go see one of the providers, almost in every single case, they're owned by the healthcare system with one purpose: to fill up the beds. So by merely changing that front door and through your plan, not telling everybody they have to change, just simply giving people the option to change, to go to an independent primary care provider who's not owned by the hospital and who offers their services in an aligned way. What I mean by that is when you pay for primary care on a fee-for-service basis, meaning everything you do gets charged, the incentive is to do more services to make more money. Yeah. When you go to an independent primary care provider who's on a membership basis, or in other words, a subscription model, where they're just receiving money every month for you, like $70, $80 per member, all of a sudden the physician's incentives are to keep you healthy, not to fill up the hospital beds. So what major employers across the country are doing, and literally the largest jumbo Fortune 50 companies in the country are right now rolling out, is to say to their employees, you can go to the network providers like you always have, and you can pay copays and deductibles. But if you'll go through this subscription model, we'll pay 100% of it, and you'll never pay anything for primary care. Because by sending you to this independent primary care provider who's incented to keep you healthy, the back end costs go down by 50%.
Wow.
When you don't have this misalignment of incentives to fill hospital beds, but you have an incentive to keep people healthy, the amount of hospitalizations and expensive care you have to provide drops significantly. So that's the number one first thing, is you've got to offer your employees a new front door that's subscription-based. The second thing is when you go get healthcare in the healthcare system, there's not a market where, oh, the better providers at the better cost get all the business. It doesn't work that way. In fact, insurance companies make more money the more the healthcare cost goes up. So I was in San Antonio speaking to a group of CEOs a few months ago, and I just did a little quick comparison to say, okay, you can go to get an ACL repair within your Aetna network for $72,000 with a 3-star rating. Or you can go over to this other hospital, also in the Aetna network, with a 5-star rating for $7,000, 1/10 of the cost, and it's better outcomes. So
a win-win.
It's a win-win. So by just simply steering people to the best providers with the best outcomes, the best cost, you can drive costs down significantly. It's amazing what you can do by just getting inside the system and steering people to the better providers. The third way to save significant, and all of these are a part of this aspirational model. The third one is, again, partner with people on their journey so they don't get sick in the first place. 87% of what we spend in this country in healthcare, which, by the way, is our largest industry in America, $4.5 trillion, fourth largest GDP in the world. Our healthcare system is the fourth largest country in the world.
Ooh, crazy.
If 87% of that is preventable and is based on lifestyle. So if you can intervene proactively, partner with people to help them make the changes that they already want to make and simply support them in living more healthy so they can accomplish their dreams, you can have a tremendous impact on the cost of healthcare by getting way upstream. So those are the three things that will significantly drive down the cost of healthcare by implementing within your plan. So really the only difference is if you're small, if you're too small to be what's called self-funded. When you choose to create a self-funded plan, you are in essence getting to take all the advantages of all this cost savings. If you're too small, then generally you think of just going and buying insurance. Well, when you buy insurance, there is no way it'll ever go down. It's impossible to go down because of the way healthcare works. And the Affordable Care Act put in place, locked, sealed, and delivered a system in an environment where the shareholders of insurance companies only get more value and make more money as costs go up. So by going out and just buying an insurance plan, it's like the worst thing you can do because you're locked into continual increases. So if you can be self-funded and implement strategies to get the benefit of cost savings, great. Generally, companies with 50 employees or less don't have that option. So you say, well, what can a lot of our startups do that are 50 or less? Well, there are actually many health plans across the country that have been built specifically for those kind of companies, where they bring these strategies into the plan where most of their employers are 10 to 20 employees. And they literally bring down the cost of healthcare in half by leveraging in a group environment for those smaller employers these same strategies. So there are things that any size company can do. And it's just a matter of realizing that the traditional way to buy healthcare, and I'll tell you probably the most important thing you can do if you're a small employer, is for goodness sakes, Start aligning the system to work for you. Here's what I get to get in front of CEOs across the country and have for the last 12 years. And I love to talk to groups of CEOs and I ask them, why do you buy healthcare? And they say, because I have to. I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I want to attract and retain good talent, and I can't get the best employees if I don't offer them benefits. Like,
Yep.
great. So, do you ever measure to see how well the benefits you offer are actually working to accomplish your business objective? No.
No.
Okay, there's the first problem, right? So then what do you do to buy health benefits? Well, I hand it over to my HR department. And then do they get incentives? Or are they aligned to help you reach your business objectives? Generally not. Well, what do? Well, they just go sign a broker letter of record with a broker, a health insurance broker.
Yeah.
I'm like, so how do they get paid? I don't know. I guess they get paid from a commission from the insurance company. Right. So think about it.
Yeah.
The very people who are helping you design solutions for your benefits are getting to make more money the less you reach your business objectives. Is that called alignment? No. So the first most important thing you can do, no matter what your size, is start signing fee-based contracts with brokers. Meaning the broker now works for you. They sign an agreement that basically says, as I help you reach your business objectives, that's when my bonuses come. Instead of, by keeping you in the broken system, I get bonuses. So it's like 101 business to just align your people working with you. The problem is that most CEOs never think about healthcare that way. They just think of it as a necessary evil. Go find a big name broker and let's make sure they're bringing us the best solutions. And it's like, they're not bringing you the best solutions because they have no incentive to bring you the best solutions.
Exactly.
So that's the most important thing you can do at any size company you are. Well, people don't realize that just a couple of years ago, the government put in place kind of an incentive or a penalty for employers to start taking a look at this and being serious about it. So 20 years ago, the government put in place regulations saying that if you create a pension plan for your employees, you are a fiduciary. You are deciding how their pension retirement funds are being invested, which means you hold fiduciary liability, which means your personal assets as a business leader are at risk. Well, all of a sudden, the whole retirement industry went over to 401ks entirely because it's like, I want to give my employees the right to choose where they invest their money. I don't want to have to be doing it for them. I don't want that fiduciary duty. Well, 2 years ago, the government said, let's do the same thing with healthcare. Employers are terrible at managing healthcare. And let's make sure that they've always had a fiduciary duty, but they put that in the law in such that now the employees, like they used to in the retirement industry, can file class action lawsuits against their employer for not being a good fiduciary. Well, those class action lawsuits are just now starting to fly. The first ones just started happening in the last few months, where employers now, because they don't typically look at healthcare with much accountability and look at it and don't realize that by making choices as to the insurance plan they're offering, their employees' money are at risk here. Their employees are paying for that. They're having to pay a portion of the premium, especially if they're on a family plan. They're having to pay copays and deductibles. The employer is making choices relative to the cost that's coming out of people's personal pockets, meaning that if you are not approaching your healthcare cost in a fiduciary way and really taking a reasonable look at it, you are at risk.
Wow.
So as I was mentioning, you can literally within a same market area buy an ACL repair for $72,000 or $7,000. What's also interesting is that a couple years ago, the government put out a price transparency regulation, which meant that hospitals and insurance companies needed to start posting for the public to see their pricing. So here in Utah, for example, if you were to go to one of the biggest hospitals in Utah and get a big expensive procedure like a lung transplant, it's going to be about $300,000 if you just pay the retail rate, right? But if you're on insurance, because they've contracted and gotten better rates, you're going to pay about $230,000. But if you walk in and pay cash up front, $82,000. Yeah.
So they don't tell you that.
No. But if you build your plan in such a way that you take advantage of cash upfront strategies, the employer has enormous savings to experience by simply paying cash upfront. So there are plans that are built that are just do exactly that. You don't pay the contract rate of $230,000, you pay the $82,000 rate by paying cash upfront. And there are banks that basically will fund that money up front to make sure you have enough cash flow so that you can buy it up front and get the better price. I mean, you're saving so much money by just paying cash up front. So the new transparency in healthcare has opened up the window so a buyer can see, oh, there's 3 price tags on that lung transplant. There's the retail rate, there's the insurance rate, and there's the cash upfront rate. I want the cash upfront rate. There's no question. There's centers of excellence outside of this country that do some of the best surgeries and procedures at like 20% of the cost.
Yeah,
and specialty medications is a good example. So if you look at pharmacy, generally 30 to 35% of it in total health plan. Well, half of that, 15%, 17% is going to what's called specialty medications. Well, a very tiny percent of your membership is going to be on a specialty drug. But specialty drugs are enormously expensive. We're talking $100,000 a year for one prescription. In some cases, there's $2 million drugs for one prescription. They work, they're effective, but they're enormously expensive. You go buy that $2 million drug through Canada, through a pharmacy, made by the same manufacturer.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Dispensed to your home through, delivery to your home through a Canada drug. It's like 20% of the cost. So again, it's a matter of knowing how to leverage purchasing strategies within healthcare that can drive easily your total cost of healthcare down by 50% and be offering much better healthcare.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I was a big fan while I was running hospitals of Edwards Deming's philosophies of continuous quality improvement, which were the kind of the beginnings of today, the Net Promoter Score, the Google 5-star ratings. We're constantly asking our customer whether we're doing a good job. Well, hospitals were implementing these principles of continuous quality improvement back in the 1980s when I was running hospitals, and I became very good at helping hospitals become accredited with a commendation. Well, the principles of Deming are simple. Who's your customer? What's going to delight your customer? What are the processes that you need to be measuring that best monitor whether you're delighting your customer? And when you find variance in those processes, simply get the people closest to the process to fix it and improve the process. That's the whole principle. Well, here I am sitting at the top as an administrator of a hospital of the largest industry in America, and I'm thinking about this whole CQI customers. I'm like, well, first of all, I don't work for my customer. I never even want to know what's going to delight my customer. In fact, I scheme every day against my customer. It's like, what business leader in America wants me, the hospital administrator, spending all my time figuring out how to fill up my hospital beds?
Yeah.
That's not good for my customer. And yet no one was holding me accountable. It's like there is something wrong with the largest industry in America when the people at the top of the food chain literally are not being held accountable. So I said to myself, I cannot dedicate the rest of my career to an industry that no one's holding accountable. So I spent the last many years, I've been the top speaker the last 12 years to CEOs across the country on just saying, Businesses, you can balance the scales, and it's not hard, but you need to, because this industry is not being held accountable. In fact, this is what's so crazy. Half of the $4.5 trillion we spend in this country on healthcare is waste, has nothing to do with providing healthcare. Now, let me put in context. $2.25 trillion, half of what we spend in healthcare. Just how big is that? Well, the entire gross domestic product of Russia is only 1.7 trillion. We waste in the American healthcare system more money than the entire country of Russia spends every year. Everybody in healthcare, from the broker to the insurance company to the providers, all are not being held accountable, and all get to drive up the cost of healthcare, and no one is aligning any of those parties to work for the buyer. And the buyer is employers. Employers are, other than Uncle Sam, the largest purchaser of healthcare. And I'm sorry, but employers focus on their business, and they just rely on a broker to make sure they're getting the best healthcare they can get. But the broker isn't working for them. And that's not the broker's fault. That's the business leader's fault. The business leader needs to say, no, I have business objectives for why I'm buying healthcare. I'm going to measure to see if I'm getting them. And you're going to reward it when I get what I want, not when I don't get what I want. It's business 101.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Remember aspirational healthcare, because if you go to aspirationalhealthcare.com, there's lots of ways to get in touch with us. There's contact forms you can fill out. There's phone numbers. So just remember aspirationalhealthcare.com. So the best healthcare system in the world is in Alaska. We are putting on a conference called the CEO Summit of 2024 on the campus in the beautiful learning center of the best healthcare system in the world. And I would love to invite it's a CEO conference. We're inviting CEOs from across the country to go to Alaska, spend the mornings of the 3 days of the conference learning how healthcare should work, how the easy buttons to implement it are, what to do to avoid the risks of these fiduciary, obligations. And then afternoons and evenings will all be spent participating in unforgettable Alaska wilderness adventures. Wow. Like flying on a helicopter to the top of a glacier. So we encourage you to go to that same website, aspirationalhealthcare.com. There's actually early bird registrations right now for the next few days until the end of April. If you contact me directly, I've got some significantly discounted tickets that I'd be more than happy to share with some of the CEOs.